will be on the corner of Walker Street and Queen's Lane. At this point, I would like to welcome our esteemed dignitaries joining us today, Her Excellency, Ms. Mazita Marzuki, the Consul General to Malaysia in Melbourne. It's so lovely to see you, Your Excellency. Mr. Halal Sahari, Chief Executive Officer of the Halal Development Corporation, Berhad, Malaysia. Welcome. Lovely to meet you. Ms. Nicola Hindler, First Assistant Secretary for Exports and Veterinary Services Division with the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry. Very good morning, Nicola. Mr. Mohammed Zawawi Ahmed Mughni, Executive Councillor for the State Government of Selangor, Chairman of the Standing Committee for Religious Consumerism and the Halal Industry for the State of Selangor. Welcome. Lovely to meet you. And Mr. Paul Sander, Minister Councillor Commercial and Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner with Austrade. It's lovely to see you, Paul. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Ian Thompson, Regional Director for Agricultural Exports, Southeast Asia Division with the Victorian State Government. Excellencies, distinguished guests, media, ladies and gentlemen. I would request that we all please be upstanding for the Malaysian National Anthem and to please remain standing for the Australian National Anthem, which will follow. Thank you.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free, with golden soil and land toil. Our home is that our sea, our land and ages is of beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage of man's strength. In joyful strength and let us sing of man's strength and faith.
Thank you. You may be seated. My name is Jessica Swan, and I feel very privileged to have been invited to be your MC for today, the 14th Annual Business Halal Conference, and it indeed is a privilege for us here in Australia to have been chosen as the first country outside of Malaysia to hold such an esteemed global event. I'm a journalist working with Network 10's The Project. Prior to this, I worked internationally across the Middle East, the United States, and here in Australia with our public broadcaster, WHBC. In fact, it was whilst I was living in Bahrain in 2004 that I chose to embrace Islam, making my Shahada at the Al-Fatih Mosque. That was 19 years ago now. I later gained a master's at the ANU's College of Arab and Islamic Studies in Islam in the Modern World, So to be invited to be your MC, it is indeed a privilege, both on a professional level, but also it's very meaningful for me on a personal level, as I'm sure many of our Muslims in the audience can understand, and everybody else as well, I hope. Whilst this marks the first time the event has been held outside of Malaysia, it's not the first time that halal trade has had such a prominent focus on this continent. More than 500 years ago, Muslim Macassan fishermen were engaging in halal trade in trepang, or sea cucumber, with Muslim Macassan fishermen from the island of Sulawesi. They were trading with the Yolngu people of northeast Arnhem Land, and there's cave paintings in that area that tell us of a very close relationship between the two cultures, and indeed this close relationship with our Asia-Pacific friends is being demonstrated today in the coming together of our two nations. In this light, I wish to acknowledge the strategic collaboration between Halal International Selangor, an agency under the Selangor State Government, and the Victorian State Government, in recognition of the investment opportunities offered at the Selangor Economic Zone on the current and future developments, which are valued at 3.2 billion Australian dollars. Broadly, the halal industry today is one of the fastest growing sectors, and it's expected to reach approximately $2.4 trillion by 2024. It's just 2 years away. Halal is profoundly important, obviously, to Muslims the world over, but it's actually very important to non-Muslims as well. Halal, that which is permissible, in a single word, captures the approach of a more sustainable world. And if we can get this right, then all the benefits flow, socially, economically, environmentally, and for generations to come. And so for the next 2 days, we will indeed showcase many opportunities and many great minds. At this point, to mark the launch of the conference, I'd like to welcome Sheikh Mohammed Naeem Mohammed to provide a short dua or prayer or invocation of good blessings. Welcome to the stage, Sheikh Mohammed.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك. All praises be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, He who created us and to whom we shall return. Allahumma ya Allah, shower your blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. O Allah, you love forgiving sins, so forgive us all our sins. You are most merciful. Please guide us to the right way. Allahumma ya Allah, we have gathered together today to attend World Halal Business Conference 2022. Please guide us among those whom you guide. Grant us health and strength among those whom you grant health and strength. Tie our heart together with mutual love and care in order to make us compassionate human beings. Make us understand that you created us different, but with the same cause. We come from a single brotherhood and we return to you one day, bare and alone. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadha jam'an marhuma, wa tafarruqna min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'suma. ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا ولا من يتبعنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجزام ومن سيء الأسقام. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيد الخلائق والبشر وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. تقبل الله منكم.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, Sheikh Mohammed. I would now like to introduce our first speaker for the morning, who will deliver his welcome remarks. Mr. Halal Arifin Sahari, Chief Executive Officer of the Halal Development Corporation, Malaysia. I'd like to welcome you to the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Excellency Puan Mazita Marzuki, Consul General of Malaysia in Melbourne, Ms. Nicola Hinda, First Assistant Secretary, Exports and Veterinary Services Division, Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, DAFF. Yang berhormat Tuan Muhammad Zawawi Ahmad Mughni, Executive Councillor, State Government of Selangor, Chairman of Standing Committee for Islamic Religious Consumerism and Halal Industry for the State of Selangor, Mr. Paul Sender, Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner, Australian Trade and Investment Commission, Australia. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ian Thompson, Regional Director, Agricultural Exports, Southeast Asia, Victoria Government. Excellency, distinguished guests, media, ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillah, all praise to the Almighty, by whose grace and blessings we are here gathered today to the inaugural World Halal Business Conference again in Melbourne, Australia. On behalf of HDC, I would like to warmly welcome all guests and participants to this event. HDC is very excited to host this annual conference outside of Malaysia after 14 years of Kuala Lumpur, as we aim to expand the halal industry beyond the ASEAN region. Thank you to the Australian Trade and Investment Commission, Australia, for tirelessly working together with HDC to make the WHBC 2022 happen. Ladies and gentlemen, the halal industry in Malaysia began in 1974 when the government introduced the national certification to recognize halal. Today, we are proud to say that Malaysia's halal certificate is the most recognized standard of halal in the world, which is acknowledged by more than 40 countries. The government is steadfast in championing halal Malaysia, as Malaysia is an industry segment that is fast growing. Halal products and services are not just for Muslims, as it encompasses sustainability, ethical consumption, and green growth. Other countries such as Russia, China, Mongolia, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, and our ASEAN neighbors, to name a few, look to Malaysia to develop and link their halal ecosystems with us and the OIC for market access, business expansion, networks and collaboration opportunities, investments, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated digital transformation globally. The adoption of IT has become a necessity in the way of the world does things today. The same goes for the halal industry and economy. That is why the theme for this year's World Halal Business Conference is Halal Opportunities in the Borderless World to suit the post-pandemic agenda. Stepping into this digital era is utmost important for all players of the halal industry. This year's conference will be interesting as the distinguished panel are from diverse backgrounds: the government, industry and civil society covering food security, safety and sustainability, halal ingredients ecosystem, halal business agility through digitalization, halal finance and banking, Muslim-friendly tourism, and halal trade connectivity. We are most fortunate to be able to have esteemed speakers at our conference share their experience in halal. Australia is our first destination for WHBC, as it has a mature halal ecosystem and market with an established Australian government authorized halal program or AGA-HP. Australia is one of the leading hubs that export dairy products and meat to Muslim countries apart from Brazil, Argentina, and India. This is evident by Malaysia being a major importer as well. 71% of our halal certified meats come from Australia. Malaysia is also grateful that Australia is one of the top exporters of halal food and beverages, halal ingredients, and cosmetics and personal care products. HDC believes that linking the halal ecosystem between both countries will support and expand a broader future for the business and social communities to build networks, spur innovations, and encourage new creations together. At this end, gentlemen, before I conclude, on behalf of HDC, I would like to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Madam Mazita Marzuki, Consul General of Malaysia in Melbourne, who will officiate the WHBC today. HDC hopes that all delegates will maximize opportunities and reap a plethora of benefits out of this 2 days event. HDC's sincere appreciation also goes out to the Malaysian Consulate General Office in Australia, fellow government agencies, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry MAFI, Malaysian External Trade Development Corporation MATRID, and Malaysia Investment Development Authority MINA, Islamic Development Department of Malaysia JAKIM, the Victorian Government, the Islamic Coordinating Council Victoria, strategic partners including Malaysian Airlines, Duo Pharma, FNM, Malaysian Palm Oil Council, Easy Kurban, Selangor State Government, and also Digital Technica. Our thanks to both international and local media partners as well for the coverage of our World Halal Business Conference. Before we part, I would like to close with one of my favorite quotes from the Arab Muslim jurist, theologian, and hadith traditionalist Imam Malik ibn Anas: knowledge is that which benefits, not that which is memorized in life. And so on this note, esteemed delegates, I encourage you to fully maximize your time from this 2 days event to benefit and gain as much knowledge and networks as possible to the halal industry. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So much, Mr. Halal. And now I would like to welcome for our official speech Her Excellency Ms. Mazita Marzuki, Consul General to Malaysia in Melbourne. Welcome to the stage, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much, Jess. She's such a good friend of mine, and to the consulate as well. Mr. Hairul Arifin Sahari, Chief Executive Officer, Halal Development Corporation, Malaysia. Ms. Nicola Hinda, First Assistant Secretary, Export and Veterinary Services Division, Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry. Mr. Muhammad Zawawi Ahmad Mukni, Executive Councillor, State Government of Selangor, Chairman of Standing Committee for Islamic Religious, Consumerism and Halal Industry for the State of Selangor. Mr. Paul Sander, Minister Councillor, Commercial and State Trade and Investment Commissioner, Australia. Mr. Ian Thompson, Regional Director, Agriculture Exports, Southeast Asia, Victorian Government, Victorian Government. Excellencies, distinguished guests, media, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, all praises are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for it is with His permission and blessing that He have enabled us to gather here for the 14th edition of World Halal Business Conference, circuit at Pullman Albert Park, Melbourne, Australia. It is indeed surreal to be back in this setting. Nevertheless, I am proud to be standing here before you to witness an important and international event by Malaysia, outside Malaysia, and for choosing Australia, in particular Melbourne, as the first destination. Kudos to the organizer, Halal Development Corporation, who once again managed to pull it off since the conference was first established in 2008, and moreover, in new normalcy post-pandemic era. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me, on behalf of the Malaysian government, to also convey our gratitude to collaborating partners, Australian Trade and Investment Commission, Austrade, and the Federal State Government of Victoria. The collaboration clearly signifies HDC's commitment to expand Malaysia halal market internationally in providing new opportunities for local companies. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for this year's World Halal Business Conference is Halal Opportunities in Borderless World. The impact of global COVID-19 pandemic has further spurred the acceptance of digital technology to communicate and conduct business virtually, making the world truly borderless. The power of e-commerce and digital technology is inevitable. For instance, the adoption of marketing automation technologies powered by artificial intelligence, AI, makes it possible for business to leverage data at scale and raises the company's efficiency in capturing bigger audience for their business. Hence, the Malaysian government was swift to materialize its digital economy agenda. The Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint, or My Digital, which was duly launched earlier this year, outlines the government's plan to enhance digitalization, improve digital infrastructure, and build a more trusted and secure digital environment. This rational policy transformation is shared by many countries, such as Indonesia, with Digital Indonesia, Digital Hub in Thailand, and South Korea's Digital New Deal. Policies as such will accelerate the deployment of digital infrastructure across the region and placing strong foundation for a robust digital economy. This sets an example for other economies to follow and taking the next step towards becoming a resilient digital nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the past 2 years have been very challenging for the global economy as we navigated our way through the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. However, we are now facing new challenges with the international geopolitical tensions as well as rising inflation. The International Monetary Fund reported the global economy expanded by 6.1% in 2021 compared to 3.3% in 2020. This year could be another tough year looking at the political climate of the world. Such political events have an impact that does disrupt trade activity and investment that has led to global inflation in many countries. Malaysia, however, has doubled its effort to tame the inflation from reaching double digits. Currently, Malaysia is one of the ASEAN countries with manageable low inflation rate. The Malaysian government has allocated sufficient subsidies of 77.3 billion ringgit in its effort to reduce inflation and boost purchasing power. With 5.1% of economic growth in the first quarter of 2022, Malaysia remained optimistic of a continued robust growth in the second quarter, yet cautious of the global political climate and the rising of commodity prices. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's talk about halal. The halal industry plays a major role in the global economy despite various challenges, and it continues to grow. According to the State of the Global Islamic Economy 2022 report, Muslim spending worldwide has increased to $2 trillion in 2021 across the food, pharmaceutical, cosmetics, fashion, travel, media, and recreation sectors. Spending is expected to grow by 9.1% in 2022, despite continued uncertainty from the COVID-19 pandemic. Demand for halal goods and services is expected to rise, with global Muslim spending a forecast to hit 2.8 trillion by 2025. Halal food market is blooming worldwide, and it is no longer the sole domain of Muslim, but now it has penetrated to non-Muslim group as they seek for sustainable and healthy food supplies. We can see the trend on the spending of halal food increased by 6.9% in 2021, from 1.19 trillion in 2020 to 1.27 trillion. This trend is expected to grow by 7.0% in 2022 to reach an astounding number of 1.6 trillion in 2025 at a 4-year cumulative annual growth rate of 7.1%. That's a lot of numbers. If this trend continues, the world will witness the global Muslim market growth to about $2.4 trillion by 2024. This statistic indicates that halal industry could be vital or not already to the global economy. Ladies and gentlemen, halal industry can play an important role towards the economic recovery amidst challenges that have led to fluctuating food and commodity prices with ramifications global supply chain. Food insecurity has become a global issue that has led to inflation, poverty, and hunger, as well as malnutrition situation. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the global halal industry stakeholders to work together and push halal as one of the solutions which will help strengthen the issue of food security worldwide. This new Borderless will offer limitless prospects to the halal ecosystem and present boundless opportunities to global halal industry. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my fervent hope for this conference to bring the halal industry to greater heights, to instill confidence of the consumers, to garner understanding of what halal industry has to offer, which will result to a productive bilateral and multilateral trade and investment. In conclusion, for those traveling in, do take the opportunity to do some sightseeing in Melbourne. Melbourne may have been quiet to the world for a while, which did put us on the world map. But when we open, we have so much to offer. And on that parting note, I think it is not too late for me to wish fellow Malaysians Selamat Hari Kemerdekaan ke-65. And my wish for this auspicious National Day with nothing but a productive discussion and a fruitful outcome of the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to officiate the World Halal Business Conference WHBC Circuit 2022. Thank you.
I've just asked Her Excellency to stay on the stage because we have a very special launch that I would also like to welcome a few of our other dignitaries up to the stage as well. Mr. Halal Arifin Sahari, if you'd like to join us on stage. Mr. Mohammed Zawawi Ahmed Mukni, thank you. Mr. Paul Sander, if you would like to also join, and Mr. Ian Thompson, if you'd like to join us as well, thank you. What we're doing now is a very special recognition of the launch, and what we'll see coming up on the screen behind our dignitaries very shortly are the 5 hands. Each of our dignitaries are going to lay their right hand on one of these hands. If you would like to take the centre, that would be wonderful. And gentlemen, please, if you would like to take your positions. Lovely, and there'll be a countdown. So if you'd like to place your hands, wonderful. And this is a wonderful photo opportunity. I'm going to move out of the way. A wonderful photo opportunity once we're doing the countdown.
The World Halal Business Conference, WHBC, is opening its door to the world. A momentous event for all domestic and global halal businesses to unite for the future. The panel focuses on the business perspective of the halal industry. This includes import and export dealings, local and international trade, global investments, and other business activities.
To the official launch. Thank you so much. At this point, Mr. Ian Thompson, would you like to stay with me, please? And I would now like to invite up to the stage Mr. Matt Ghazali Abdul Rahim, CEO of the Halal International Salon Taiba, to the stage for the exchange of mementos. For the photo opportunity, please. And so in acknowledgement, Mr. Ian Thompson, Regional Director, Agricultural Exports for Southeast Asia with the Victorian State Government. Thank you very much. Offering the memento. And Mr. Matt Ghazali Abdul Rahim, CEO, Halal International Selangor Taiba, offering his momentum as well. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. So our event has officially launched, and without any further ado, our ceremony has finished, so let's get down to business. Our first session is being held in this room, and we have also two other parallel sessions taking place at that same time. I will clarify the sessions for you now. This will take us, we have two sessions, each go for 1 hour, and that will roughly take us up to around 12:15, where we'll break for lunch. In this room, we will first be looking at activating halal trade connectivity, and our panellists will be Mr. Paul Sander, Minister, Councillor and Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner with Austrade, and Mr. Adli Mohammed, Chief Commercial Officer with HDC, and our moderator on that session will be Mr. Nathaniel Kittingan, President of the Australia-Malaysia Business Council in Victoria Chapter and the Managing Principal with McPherson Kelly, Melbourne Office. Following this session, in this room again, after the first hour, we will be having food security, safety and sustainability, getting the trade-off right. Our panellists will be Nicola Hinder, First Assistant Secretary with Exports and Veterinary Services Division, the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, and our panellist as well, Mr. Dato Rafiq Mohammed Arif, Director Government and Industry Relations and Halal Affairs, and our moderator is Ms. Azimatul Mazriya Aziz Jaladdin, the Trade Commissioner with Berhad in Melbourne. This particular session, the first session I might add, we've heard a lot of numbers this morning, and that's essentially what we're going to be looking at, is really taking apart some of these numbers and what does it actually mean for us. The growth potential is absolutely unprecedented. The halal economy is a game changer for both traditional halal trading nations and non-Muslim halal newcomers, and evidence that halal is the new way of doing business is what will be discussed in our first session here. Our second session is looking at getting the trade-off right, food security, safety and sustainability. The domino effect of food security issues resulting from outbreaks and ongoing trade wars impact everyone along the supply chain, from farmers and manufacturers to consumers to all of us. Furthermore, greater demand for supply chain traceability from discerning consumers makes supply chain integrity insurance a key priority, paving the way for halal supply chain management. That will be what will be discussed in the second session after the first hour in this room. Whilst the first session is taking place, I hope I haven't confused anybody, you can ask questions. Whilst the first hour is taking place, we have two parallel sessions which are taking place in the Victoria and Albert's rooms. And the way you would get there, there's a door to my right and you exit through this door and you'll see all the signs to those 2 rooms. Those 2 sessions are looking at clarifying misconceptions about halal. That is in the Albert room. Our panellists, Mr. Muhammad Naeem Muhammad Aziz, Department of the Islamic Development, Malaysia. Panellist, Mr. Muhammad Koyu, Operation Director with ICC Victoria. And Mr. Sheikh Bilal Assad, International Public Speaker, Australian International Academy. And our moderator for that session is Mr. Ahmed Shaiful Alawi Muhammad Noor, the Managing Director of Novavita, Malaysia. We also have in our second parallel session, Investment in Malaysia, Gateway to the Global Halal Market in the Victoria room. Our panellists, Ms. Manjit Kaur, Director of Food Technology and Resource-Based Industries Division, MITI, Malaysia. And our second panellist is Mr. Matt Ghazali, who we met a little earlier. And he's the Chief Executive Officer with Halal International Southern Mall. And our moderator is Ms. Nozria Nordin, Consul Investment with MITI in Sydney's office. And a little bit about those 2 parallel sessions. The first one, clarifying misconceptions about halal. The halal concept, I feel in many ways that I'm preaching to the converted up here because I'm sure we all feel the same on this. The halal concept has been expanded beyond a religious standpoint to become a standard for business practice. Clearly with the numbers that we heard from Her Excellency a few moments ago, there is no doubt about that. The standards have grown in acceptance by the business community as well as governmental organisations and world populations, regardless of their belief. Halal values include everything within the ecosystem and covering all sectors, not just meat, which is what our media just keeps going on about consistently. These include specialty processed food, cosmetics. There was an amazing girl up in Byron Bay doing a lot of halal products a few years ago. And personal care, livestock, halal ingredients, pharmaceuticals and services. This is what's going to be spoken about in the first parallel session, clarifying misconceptions, and that's in the Albert room. The second parallel session before I close and we start the sessions is Investment in Malaysia, Gateway to the Global Halal Markets. That's in the Victoria room. And it says here that it takes a village to cultivate a stable and conducive ecosystem that is attractive halal to investors. I think as a mum, we often hear the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And so when I read that, I thought, oh yes, I can understand how we make the connections here, because we can't move forward in a halal and sustainable way if we're not doing it together, hand in hand. Players in the ecosystem discuss what it takes to attract investors and keep them investing today. So that's in that second parallel session taking place in the first hour in the Victoria room. So without any further ado, I might ask if our lights can be brought up so that we can all gather our belongings. If you would like to stay in the first room, as we are now, thought leadership, activating halal trade connectivity, the 2 parallel sessions. Can I please have the lights up? Thank you. The 2 parallel sessions, you would need to make your way now to the Albert and Victoria rooms through this door here. And when that finishes, please do feel free to come back into this room for the second hour to enjoy food security, safety and sustainability. Thank you very much.